Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you mayoral types out there. My name is Josh. Welcome to another episode of Dead Men Streaming. And by the time I am recording this, today is May the 5th. I have no idea when you're going to see this because I have not yet decided on an upload schedule to my YouTube channel. So, here we go. I am a storyteller by trade. I write fantasy novels, I write cyberpunk novels, I do a bunch of stuff, and we've been slowly telling the story of Imini Bay. And it's not been a great story. I'm not going to lie. It's not been like, oh, this is the greatest novel of all time. No, this is a story of development. This is a story of a small town in Elizabeth Meadows having a county-wide commissioner who's like, listen, we've got this huge tract of land. We're going to develop this. We're going to make this the gem of the state or the country even. And he's wanted to go up and do a whole lot of stuff, and he's been making steady progress. We began with Elizabeth Meadows, we branched off into an industrial area, we scooted over here, we started developing Copper Bluff, a very nice, not quite urban, not quite suburban area. It was just sort of like a tween area, I guess you could call it, with some universities, with some high density buildings as they start to scatter away from downtown. We put a little bit of investment in a small little town called Hawthorne Glen, which really needs a little bit more work. We can do stuff across this river, and we even found the ruins of an old cathedral that cost us about $5 million to install. So, one thing that the county commissioner has had his eyes on this entire time has been up here, to the extent that he even talked the state into allowing him to completely redo the highway system to make sure that he had full access to develop this whole area. And while he's got most of the access he wants, this area is still going to have to be bought up. But let's be honest, this is a lot of real estate to go ahead and start developing. But as time goes, there are some issues that pop up. And with us, I did run into one that's bugging me a little bit, and that's going to be our homeless rate with 1,135 people who are currently homeless. And the reason why we have this many homeless is simply we just don't have enough homes. It's an easy solution to fix. We're going to work on fixing it a little bit. I spent about an hour offline doing something because, like I said in my last video, we're not necessarily playing a game of cities, rural architecture. We're playing a game called City Skylines, and you'd expect large buildings to be popping up at some point in this build. And I'd like to get to that. The snag is, if they're homeless, chances are they are not earning enough money in order to buy one of the existing homes if there is homes available. And I actually don't know. I don't know if there are homes available for people to move into. As far as I know, there are. But I know that in real life, in my hometown, we have a slowly growing homeless issue because we don't have places for people to move in. We don't have low rent areas, and we don't have the infrastructure to handle them. We don't. And it's a terrible situation. It's being I'm just going to say it's not being managed as well as one would hope. And I'm just going to leave it at that. A couple of things that I would like to do, maybe this build, is to go ahead and snap up these corners, but I'm trying to save us some money because a lot of the stuff that I want to build next is going to cost a lot. And I'd hope that playing last night and setting up a little basis of a town would increase our income. Unfortunately, I bought so many buildings that it had the opposite effect. Not only did I end up a lot lower than I started, um, our monthly income, our hourly income has taken a big hit. However, we're still making $300,000 an hour. It's not bad. By the time I logged off, we had crept back up over 5 mil, which is about a million more than we had. And what I've done is decide that while the storyline is progressing and our county commissioner, county authoritarian figure, is making plans for downtown. He dedicated this plot of land down here that had roads going through it, but not a lot, and said, hey, listen, I need an underling to develop a place. We'll call it Lil Burbia, because it's going to be sort of suburban, sort of not. It's going to sort of be a suburb that would service these two areas. It's one of those. Oh, car wrecking a fire. All right. Um, and so we're just going to fill this with a mix of low rent residential and light residential. Now, this is going to be a wealthy area because I've invested pretty heavily in parks and things. So let's take a quick look about what I put in. I did put in a couple of signature buildings, starting with Cafe de Paris for an attractiveness boost for the city and plus 10 well being for 2.5 kilometers. Then beside it, there is a something called Color Plaza, which is a new-ish park we got in the last couple months. Around this, we have a health and welfare office out of the Japanese asset pack. Down here, we've got several Chinese buildings from the Chinese asset pack. We've got the Ruby Rock Elementary School over here. We've got the high school over here. And we've got several different community kindergartens. I like these kindergartens. +5 well-being within 800 meters, +2 outdoor recreation. I mean, it's a cheap building that provides a local area boost that I really like. Put on a French firehouse, so we're just going nuts over here. Another elementary school. Not a huge fan of these. They can only pack in, what is it, 800 students? Yeah, 800 students, as opposed to the city elementary school. This blocky building over here that can pack in 2,000 at a shot. So, mm, the city elementary packs about the same footprint, but has 1,200 students more. Now, this over here is another health and welfare office, which I really thought was going to be important. Another elementary school, a medical center. That one's out of the Japanese pack. Um, Also dropped in the Riverside Grill. I like the idea of having this down here next to the bay. And I think there's one more thing I put down. Oh yeah, the Mediterranean police station. We're close to the edge down here. I went ahead and installed a telecom tower. We've got a Eastern European post office. So this has basically been just sort of a free for all for asset packs. It's not been any one particular thing. Two more things I did down here. This was a tram track running all the way down, all the way back through here, cutting across down the coastline. I took this 4 lane, turned it into a 6 lane. I added two dedicated mass transit lanes, and I'm hoping that'll keep the traffic flow going pretty smoothly. And so now we have a tram drop off here in this area as well. And somewhere in here is a small bus station. Oh, I forgot to upgrade. We'll add the taxi stop. We'll add station services beside it. Can I sneak that across the street? No. I'll sneak two station services in. All right. There's not a lot of bus traffic coming through here, or at least not planned, anyways. I probably should consider putting a bus stop on this 8 lane, but I'm trying to avoid having a lot of pedestrian traffic on it. There likely will be, but I've been trying to avoid it. I didn't buy up these squares, so this is just ending right here. When I buy up these squares, we'll have to do something with this tram track. Probably do the same thing we did here. We'll convert this 4 lane into a 6 lane, and then we'll run tram over it. The snag is this very large roundabout will probably have to go away. So last but not least, you notice that there's a lot of smaller roads, there's a lot of pedestrian paths, there's a lot of cul-de-sacs over here, and basically we're just turning this into a suburban area, suburban network that's going to have maybe an office park or two, but most of this is going to be light housing and a bit of mixed commercial. So let's take a look at the zoning types that I actually want to use over here. I do plan on developing a Chinese themed town on the other side of the bay, and that's something that I'm really excited for and I really want to get onto. But since this is just a mishmash of designs and I wanted to focus on light stuff, we are limited to Southwest, Eastern Europe, or excuse me, let me bump these all on. So we've got the basics, European, North American, we've got the waterfront housing, which really doesn't impress me. We've got Eastern European low density. Then we've got the Chinese low density that I'm going to skip for right now because even though we've used a few Chinese buildings, I don't excuse me, I don't think it's going to fit in over here. The UK low density, these were really bugged uh, up until the last patch, and I'm not overly comfortable using them, any of the UK asset packs. Um, Southwest low density is pretty nice. The Japanese low density housing looks really good, really, really good. We're going to be building a few of that. Um, it doesn't really mesh well with a lot of the other housing types. I think you're going to see why, but we'll focus on those. Then gonna look for a couple places where we can slip in some row housing. I think medium density row housing would be pretty okay. We won't be using the French style though. It's got a very distinctive look. So let's see. All of this is just, yeah, like the Northeast American row housing. I think will fit, or the Southwest medium. I think the Southwest is going to do a little bit more. So let's go ahead and get some of this started. We've got massive demand for low, medium, and high. I don't want to drop everything all at once though, because I don't want to overload our subway. I don't want to overload our highway connection because all the traffic is going to be coming through this roundabout, and I don't really want it to interfere with everything else. So let's go ahead, let's unpause. So we build up some income, and this development will go a long way to building up our overall rate of income. So that when I go and start buying very large buildings, when I start buying some of the more advanced signature buildings, not signature buildings, some of the more advanced tourist attractions and things, that it won't completely destroy our budget. So let's get on this. Let's get to work. We're going to avoid the Mediterranean stuff. We're going to start with the row houses, and I'm going to focus them down here along Fairview Street, this long stretch right down through here. All right, that's, what building is that? That is our police station. That's going to be noise pollution, so let's not. And that is the Riverside Grill. So it wouldn't be out of the way to say that there would be a housing complex right beside it, but let's not. Let's just do some low density offices, I think, right there. This is a pedestrian path, so this is going to be light density residential. And for that, we'll go ahead and use our southwest coming down through here. I'm going to fill in these couple blocks with more southwest. Commercial, popping it in right through here. Going to be careful as we get close to the coastline. I don't want to warp the existing landscape any more than I have to. So this is a good start right through here. Let's take a peek where we could drop in some low rent housing. And so that's going to be down here in this submenu. And we don't really have a lot of options. We've got the Chinese style, we've got the French style, we've got the Eastern European style, and honestly, we've got the North American style. Right here, we do have a lot of the French style because it's sort of like bleeding over from Elizabeth Meadows. I kind of want to, I kind of don't, but we've also got this um, Mediterranean style cafe down here. So I think that that should be okay. So let's go ahead and pick up a few as we bleed it from one to the other. Go back to our filler tool. Oh, did I put, okay. We are putting a little bit of this low rent housing along the 8 lane coming off the highway. It's not gonna be ideal, but these are apartment complexes, so it shouldn't be the worst. And we'll go ahead and mix in a couple of French high density office complexes through here. And for whatever reason, for high density, we didn't get any with any of the asset packs we got. So our choice is North American or European Union. Um, we'll just go ahead and sprinkle in some European Union high density commercial down this development over here. And already, as soon as we blend all of that, look, our medium and our low density is already popping up. It zeroed out and it came right back. So we'll start developing some of these cul-de-sacs. On these pedestrian streets. And we did get some Southwest mixed housing, and I think that'll be okay to sprinkle in on the edges of the cul-de-sacs. I think that'll be reasonably okay. What is that? That is an elementary school right there. We're probably going to have to put in another elementary school, just looking at the amount of people moving in. So this is going to be a big boost for us for population, and that's the extent that I'm going to develop this right now. That was probably a little bit overdeveloped, in all honesty, cutting up right through here. So let's go with it. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope that we are doing something awesome with this and see how we pop up from here. Now, we do have a couple of problems that need to be addressed, starting with I want to save. That's a problem. We'll save. What I don't like is with the addition of our cargo harbor down here, somehow we've used up all of our available trains. We get 15 out of one rail yard, and now they're all tapped out. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like it. Um, Best places for this, I really want to aggressively use this edge of the map. We do have a rail system coming up through here. I'm going to buy some tiles. Well, I don't really want to buy them over here. I'm going to buy some tiles. What? How much is that going to run me? Ooh, no. Why is it going to run me so much? Um, I I feel like this is too close for two rail yards. And I don't want to have, I'd like the rail yard to be on the outskirts of our big downtown area. So let me just, I don't know, what's our resources like up through here? Oh, that's why it's all super fertile ground. That's why it's going to cost so much. Um, style. Oh, now if I start buying up over here, it does say that there's a lot of oil in this ground. I mean, I'm reading that right, right? Huh. And we have very little oil coming in. But I don't like the idea of putting oil right next to farmland. Um, and again, we may not have much of a choice. While it's not really going to influence our income too much, let's take a quick peek. Yeah, we're low on everything. We're back to being low on vegetables. Uh, and we just don't have. Surprisingly, what confuses me is that we're lower on vegetables and food. We're okay. We're only importing about 4.5 tons of petroleum, but that's weird because we need petroleum to make chemicals for a lot of things, and we need it to make plastics, but somehow we have a surplus in plastics. We have a surplus in petrochemicals, which tells me that we're using less oil and more wheat, uh, is my assumption that they're using petrochemicals out of the wheat development. So while I think about this for a second, I'm going to take a drink because I really need one. And I'm going to sort of choose our battles a little carefully. Not necessarily easily, but carefully. sort of glancing over here. Rail would be nice, a rail yard would be nice over here, but we'll have to link all this up. And that's why I wanted to do that. We may just end up waiting. There's nothing wrong. Like, it's not having enough rail is not really going to destroy us right now. It's going to be inconvenient. I'm not going to be happy about it. But here's why I wanted to be careful about how much we're putting down right now, because look at this. We have overloaded the traffic system right here. We do have a traffic jam as people are piling in from out of the city and coming down onto this. We'll just have to wait this out. But we got so many nice little developments popping up over here. This finally puts this area to use. Um, yeah, so just bear with me and chill out over here. I am going to swing over here to Copper Bluff. We've got a lot of open spaces. This space right here is going to be dedicated to commercial somehow. What I think I'm going to do, because I don't want it along our main junction line, is I'm going to do something I haven't done a whole lot of. I'm going to use a pedestrian path right here to force zoning. And this should force developments right through here. We'll use a couple of... I really like the Chinese... Oh wait, I said commercial. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I want commercial here because that hospital right there is a noise machine. So we'll flip in commercial right there. We'll flip in a Chinese style high density office complex. And then some sort of, we'll mix generic right through there to sort of surround that hospital, take care of some of our high density demand. I'm also going to slip in some low rent housing over here as well. This is university. Not everybody who comes to universities are rich. They may have used all of their, all of their disposable income just getting into the university. So let's scroll down. The Chinese low rent housing is actually pretty nice as well. Oh, well, I don't know what was there. I don't know what did I just destroy? Oh, looks like I just got rid of some commercial that I literally did not see. That's what I get for not having my glasses on. Sorry. And I think making the effort to sort of fill these tiles in a little bit more will have a moderate impact coming down here. Okay, so that's done. I'm also not opposed to putting in some low rent housing over here. Yeah, there's pollution. Yeah, there's noise. Yes, there's all of that crap. What are these guys doing? Huh. Looks like I need to increase that road. That's a two lane. Alright, well, let's see what I can do here. Change that into a 6 coming that direction. Then this 6 turns into a 2 all the way down here. We've already got, that's just going to have to stay a 2 coming out there. Otherwise, I'll have to remap that part of that diamond. But do we have a traffic light or something here blocking? What do we have? What's going on? Just turn that into a stop sign. Make sure we don't have anything weird right there. And I'll go ahead and convert this from a 1-lane exit, which is not going to be willing to let me do. Now we'll turn that into a 2-lane as it comes down there. See if that speeds up traffic that's going directly across. Yeah, because I sort of see what's causing the traffic backlog, and this is a very bad backlog. Because we do have cars that are trying to go all the way over here and up and onto that 8, which is good. But they're making the decision to turn left here. So, and if I nuke this and say no left turns whatsoever, it's going to create a problem. Let me pause, I think, because this traffic jam is not something that's going to go away easily. So why don't we just come over back to our highways. We'll have to fight this for a second, but we can do that. And I'll link that up. I just noticed that I'm not hearing any sound of my own in my headset, and weird. I know you guys are hearing, but there's no desktop audio playing. Well, you may just have to deal with the sound of my voice for this particular episode. I do not have any idea what's going on. I know I didn't mute sound, so I might have banged into something on my headset. Oh, I hope I don't have to redo this video. All right, so let's take a look at doing it like this. Go ahead, and now we'll convert this into a 2-lane coming down here into this roundabout. We'll get rid of where I turned that into a 4-lane, or turn that into a 6-lane right there. Okay, then what I want to do is this highway, if it's going to let me, is I will go ahead and turn this into a 5-lane leading up to this. Now, this is going to completely infuriate the game, so bear with me for a second. One last thing I want to do is get rid of all of these crosswalks. And then I'm going to make sure that there's a stop sign right there. We'll unpause, we'll play out. We'll see half of those cars freak out. And lane math works in our favor. Okay. And we have now fixed that problem. We've made it a problem up the line a little bit, but for right now, we fixed our problem. We didn't convert this into a 4-lane. It should be. By the same token, that should also be a 4-lane. And so should this coming up out of that. Okay, that fixed that traffic problem because I'm certain that is going to become a traffic problem again in the future. But for right now, we should be good to go. All right, 2 to 3. 3 into 4 stays 3. 3 into 4. 4 into 3. Okay, 3 into 5. 5 into 2 into 3. 3 into 4. Well, the only thing that's off right there is we can go ahead and turn that into a 2 all the way going, as it should have been to start with. Okay, all fixed, all cleaned up, all nifty. We're good. That's better. That's happier. And look at this gorgeous development that's popped up over here. All right, we've got low rent, mix of low rents, coming up, popping up all over here. All of these low density houses popping up down here, and with the row houses, our income has gone up $100,000 an hour. We've got massive demand still. Now, magic question: did this do anything for our homeless population? Yeah, cut it down by 300. So I'll live with that. All right, that's a start. We're gonna give us time to settle over here before we fill in more of this. Whew, that was a lot of work. Checking a look, checking a look. We have put in a lot of work in half an hour. All right, I can live with that. Half an hour, success stories. Yay! Okay. Now let's start looking at how we want this to appear. Um, these interchanges are not going to be staying this way. Like, we're keeping this. We went to all this effort to build this. That's going to stay. But we need some urban interchanges here. Because otherwise, well, to start with, this is going to be an interchange. This is going to be an interchange coming off. Not that we can see what we're doing now because it has turned dark. We can pre-plan a little bit, though. This hook is not staying a hook. Just get rid of that. This access road is... I don't want to get rid of it, but I don't know. All right. I need to start deciding where I want to have my major service buildings to be at. Things that are going to be capstone achievements over here. And let's make our considerations. So, one thing that I want to look at is under administration. I can't have a large city without having some extra stuff in it. Things like the central bank, and I want to put in another city hall over here. Central bank's a decent sized building. It's got a not cheap cost, but it does provide a lot of bonuses for us. So I want to have this come up as I want to have this have a developed office park to it. I also want this to be along the shoreline. Then another city hall, not so big. I think it'll probably fit over here on this island. Yeah, let's see why it wouldn't. So I'm just sort of keeping things in mind right now before I start going completely nuts with building. I do want to come over to our education services. Uh, I don't really care about the Hadron or the Research Center. I do care about the city library. This is a very beautiful building and it will give us a college graduation chance, university education, indoor recreation, all that. But the two main things that desperately need to go over here will be the medical university and where have you hidden it? Oh, that's right. It's under healthcare. Well, want a medical university for the sake of educating our students and increasing our healthcare coverage. But the other thing that's going to do that will be the Health and Research Institute. And we were given a absolutely bonkers couple of buildings. So here's the Health Research Institute, which is quite nice. Like, I can't lie to you. This is a very nice structure. But the one that kills me, and I love this. So, minus 25% health effects from pollution citywide and disease prevention risk, which is great, is this super long, stunning structure. This is probably my favorite building in the game. The fact, the bonuses it provides are nuts. I mean, like, these are major, major bonuses. But what this thing looks like is such a strong building style and it's Just, I can't say enough good things about it. I don't know if you guys like this as much as I do, but this is one of my favorite buildings. I'm going to delete that 8-lane road coming up here, and it's going to cut across this. We're going to have this, I would like to have this abutting the highway if I can, but then we're going to have to figure out where we want to have our interchanges. So it's going to be somewhere down in this area, I think. Because I want this to be a visible structure. I don't want it to be buried too hard. It may end up having to go over here for just that reason. I want people who are coming into this town to be able to see this no matter what route they take. So I want it to be visible from this highway. I want it to be visible from the water. I want it to be visible from this highway. So honestly, I think it's going to have to slip in over here. Shore detailing takes forever. I don't like doing a lot of it, but yeah, I, I, th- I'm probably going to build a few things and then we're going to work our roads around it. That may be your best choice. Okay. Maybe starting with this. So it's light enough-ish. We can sort of see what we're doing. Let's take a good solid look. If I run this here, run a 6-lane road here, have it come up to about there, then we bring this highway ramp down. These are 3 lanes that are realistically going to get turned into 4 lanes up here. Let me fix that now. Since we're turning those into 4 lanes, each coming up, coming down, I know this is 10 meters high. I'm trying to aim dead set for the middle, and that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. We're going to take off snapping. Very carefully. Well, if it pops to one, it can pop to the other. That's just all there is to it. If it can pop to one, it can pop to the other. And there we go. Then we'll go ahead and turn our snapping back on. I'm just going to want this to come down straight. At 180 degrees. We've got a power line over there. Not really going to be any convenient way, I think. Okay, we're going to come over here. We're going to, again, we're fighting this particular map. I love this map. This map's been a delight to work on. But just whatever's causing it to not want to build in water has been driving me nuts. when we really should be able to. Slip this down and we'll go up to 2.5 meters, see if that makes a difference. As we put in this curve here. Okay, that did. So let's delete this entire road we put in here as a guideline. Sometimes our guidelines work, sometimes they don't. Then we'll straighten that out to 180 degrees. That doesn't look terrible. Okay, cool. All right, so that quasi fixes that for right now. Now let's go over here, drag this out a bit. It's going to be your 8-lane. Then we'll curve it out of that. Then I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of that. I'm going to leave that 6-lane road where it is for the moment. Okay. So that gets us a good start, I think. That pulls our 8-lane around. Now we have a little definition. I do want to swing this highway out more, I think. On the other hand, it would be kind of cool to have it going through the city like this. Especially if we could make it elevated. Just have an elevated highway running through the city. Rather than having an overpass of a local road cutting around it. So let me take a look right now. I'm going to delete this highway all the way down to there. That deletes it too far, we'll deal. We're going to come up, we're going to make sure we're at 3-lane, we're going to make sure we're at double. So I'm going to drop our elevation steps down to, I think that's like 5 at an increase. 2.5. Okay, perfect. Oh. Also helps to remember to use the right tool. So I do want this to be continuous because that's my favorite road tool. Okay, a gentle slope of 1.6 will be fine. 2.9%. Okay, that's great. Then we'll go ahead, we'll swing down. We're going to want that to be straight coming through there. And yeah, I'm going to have to buy a couple of tiles. Okay, not a big deal. Am I paused? Why am I paused? What did I do that made us pause this? I don't remember. All right, let me unpause. Looking at this, this is not a straight junction coming off of that, and that's going to bother me. So, well, oh, I know why I paused, because we were destroying highway systems. Duh. Sorry, guys. I've had a very long fundraising weekend. It's been a delightful weekend. But I run a charity organization called Creative Cosplay at the Mid-Ohio Valley. If you followed my videos, you've probably heard me talking about it before. But we are a group of cosplayers that, well, we dress up in cosplay. We work fairs, festivals, events, conventions, parades, all that other fun stuff, all through around the Mid-Ohio Valley area. So along the Ohio River from Parkersburg to Marietta to Huntington to Charleston to Morgantown, which is not technically part of the Mid-Ohio Valley, but, you know, we see the valley from the top of Morgantown. Um, and then we take what we earn at those events and we use it to buy food for food pantries in and around the Parkersburg Wood County area. It's something that I'm very proud of. And unlike this highway junction that I've just screwed up tremendously, uh, we have a lot of fun with it. It's just that it's taking its toll on me, and I'm really tired. We just raised. We've been in a major fundraising drive for the last 3 months, and you have to understand about my area. We are a poor area. We are suburban, sorta ish. Uh, our suburbs have suburbs, um, and it's hard to raise money around here. It really is. Always been hard to raise money around here. We just wrapped up our spring fundraising period where we earned a little bit more than $1,000. Uh, and every last penny of it was either from small dollar donations from just random people we've met, people that work with us, or people that we've interacted with at the events we were at. Um, and the first part of that was delivered this weekend, where we made a $750 donation to a food pantry up in Waverly, West Virginia. And if you're not familiar with that, really not at all surprised. I wasn't familiar with that until earlier this year. Um, very, very nice people. We donated more than $750 to them, more than 775 actually. And then we turned around the next day and we worked a birthday party where I dressed up as a Ghostbuster and did a bunch of stuff for a bunch of kids. So we had a blast with that, kicked off our summer fundraising period because we just apparently do not have a downtime. And yeah, but as a net result, homie's tired, guys. I'm tired. I'm going to be yawning all day. I've got like 5 totes of stuff I have to go through because Thursday of this week, then I go to my day job, um, where I'll be set up at a local mall for a week solid for 4 days, 3 days, selling books, selling resin craft, and doing the other stuff that I do. That's not computer gaming. But I have to have all of my stuff set up and prepped before I can do any of it. And it's going to wear me out even harder. But sometimes we have interesting experiences. So, in case you're wondering why I had to delete that, I only had that elevation set to 5 meters, which is not enough to run a bridge under. Sorry, which is not enough of a bridge to run a road under. Words are hard. Words are hard when you're tired. All right, so let's take another stab at this. I know I want this 6 lane to come up as an 8 lane at this intersection. So we are going to make a 90-degree intersection right here. Oh, we've also fixed that highway junction right there, so we can go ahead and unpause. Okay. All right, so I know I want this to be an 8 lane coming up into these at a 90-degree angle, which is completely off. Okay, well, we'll fix. That 6 lane needs to come over 1 more square from where it was. And we already acknowledged that was going to be at a 2.5-degree curve right here. I think that's about right. I think I just made that a 4 lane. Oh, it was a 4 lane to start with, even better. Okay. Come up at 90 degrees to a 10-meter elevation. Oh, I see the problem. It's the highway junction. The highway is not perfectly straight right here. What the? No. I hope you guys saw that because I will not be doing it again. Yeah. Um, our solution to this would, of course, be to delete all of that, and we're not going to do that. but this is sort of how this network is going to have to go. So let's just make a couple of quick adjustments. Oh no, the highway curves. Oh, terrible. How horrible. If you've never driven on a West Virginia road, you don't understand how much sarcasm there is behind that statement. You can set up the parallel tool, just do this one at a time. Okay, fixed, fixed. Large roundabout right there because of course there will be one, and I do like trees, so we'll make that there. We'll check our time on this video. Okay, this has run about 50 minutes, and I would still like to put in a couple more things, so let's rush through this. Getting our groundwork set up. Switch to our curved road tool there. Done. All right, we've reconnected the 8-lane. Comes off weird at a slightly wonky angle right there. We can still fix that. There we go, fixed. And I know we have power because the road lit up. Okay, not a fan of that, but we'll cope. Okay, so we have had a massive increase. We're earning 100,000 more an hour. How's our homeless population doing now that things have had a chance to develop? Please go down. It went down, it came back up. Um, Jobs employed, we still have this super weird unemployment rate. Okay, well, still working on it. All right, so as I love this building so much, and we do have some people complaining about noise pollution, so let me go ahead and I'm going to slot it right now. I want to make sure it's right off of that curve. I also want to make sure that that 8-lane can cut through. That should be enough room. Okay, it is. All right, set us back 2 mil and some change, but just look at this building. And it's got so much. 40 vehicles, including medical helicopters, doesn't upgrade. So what you see is what you get. It packs in 100 employees. Does cost us a significant chunk of change every month. So this is not something you build if you don't have income coming in. But well, we've got 5 medical helicopters dispatched already. I am not going to tell this, constrain this to any one district. It is where it is. And this will drastically improve the health of all of our citizens in the whole city. And this is just a fundamental building that we absolutely need, that I absolutely love, that I am not unhappy about. All right. Let me go ahead to our straight line tool for a change. 4-lane road. Back to straight line tool. Back to 0 meters elevation. And I'm going to stretch this 4-lane all the way down. Okay. Might actually increase that 4-lane to a 6 because of what I want to build down here. Let me just go ahead and do that. Do any of my 6-lane? No, none of my 6 lanes come with parking. Really? You're going to be rude about this? Continuous, back up to 2 meters, 2.5. Okay, fixed. All right. Okay, so the reason why I did that is this area is ripe for a harbor, our first civilian harbor coming through. So that's going to be a thing we're going to do. We've done some zoning up here. Well, we've done some road work up here. So let's go ahead and take a look at our administrative buildings. Specifically, I want that central bank. And I feel like the central bank would be another building that, given the option, would have itself installed near a coastline area. And I kind of want to build this up as a bit of an office park around this. So I think what I'm going to do, so we're going to come over here to parking. Oh, finally, the sun's back out. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to look at very large parking lots. I'm going to grab a 4-lane, bring it up at 90 degrees. Then I'm going to run it directly along that. That's going to mar our zoning a little bit, but I don't think I have much of a choice. Okay, going to run that right there. Then we'll go to parking. Oh, of course, now that won't fit. But that's fine because it needs to fit here. Okay, 3 parking lots right there. Back to our 4-lane. I'm going to put 1 more parking lot over here. No, going to move that. That's probably moved too far. Going to come down here to 1 lane. We're going to get an alley. Yeah, move that way too far. Okay. Actually better. We're going to get a perpendicular parking alley. That'll run. That's better. That's perfect, actually. There we go. Parking lot again. Then administrative. Then the central bank. Then parks. Small plazas will not fit. Feel like there should be a tiny city park well though. So put a tiny city park on both sides and then a canopy covered park right beside it. Actually, no. Forget the canopy covered parks. Yeah. The parking lots just booed me for that, so take that for what you will. Come down to small pedestrian street. Look at that. Now, with all of that in place, we can either go ahead and run some more parking lots behind it, which probably wouldn't be the most unreasonable thing in the world, or go back over here to our 4-lane perpendicular parking road. Connect all of that. All right, then right there we can put in some more parks, more tiny city parks, I think. Come on. There you go. Okay, modern pocket parks, no. Wide pocket parks. Oh, those fit in completely perfectly. Will it go all the way down? So close. We do have the urban parkettes, which fill it in. Holy fuzzballs, we got this. Okay. Um like I sort of do want to fill that in with parking, but at the same time I don't want to spend that much on parking. You know what I mean? Like I don't want this to be just like the parking lot of the whole city. So I'm just going to slip in. Shoot. Okay, two. And because those actually have an exit on that side, we will do another alley running across the back of them. All right, then the last thing we need to do is to get rid of like all these billion pedestrian crossings through here. We will leave a couple here and there. And we've got two more empty holes right over there. I think we have anything that is one square. I thought we did, but I guess we don't. Okay, well, fine. You know what? That's what trees are for. And speaking of trees, with this much parking down here, we absolutely do not need to see cars on the road. And I know the game will give us cars on the road. So I want adult palm trees surrounding the central bank. Now, we cannot put palm trees on alleys, and if we put them on the parking roads, that will get rid of the parking. So It's just going to have to be on the 4 lanes right beside it. I did forget to finish off this connection right here. Go ahead and do that right now. But again, and then road tools. Also need to put in stop signs. No, it looks like I missed a connection right there. Let me fix that. I hate to do it, but there needs to be a crosswalk right there. And one right there. Okay. And then we've got those spaces right back there between those. Scoot you over one. All right. Now, in case you're wondering why the central bank's important, take a look at this. Minus 2% loan interest citywide. We don't have to worry about that anymore. But minus 5% import costs and plus 5% export profits. So that'll make all of our businesses a lot happier all the way around. And with these mods right through here, this is going to allow us some relatively easy traffic connections. We may have to come back and like run something under, make an underpass or whatever, but I think we should be okay in the long term. So these were the two big major buildings that I wanted to put up here for city function. Coming down over here to Parks and Recreation to landmarks, though, there is a landmark that I dearly love that I'm mad at myself that I really haven't put up with yet. We've got both the observation tower and the Nasinalula. I am not pronouncing that right. I'm not even going to try. The OBS tower is a bit taller. And this is something that I always love to put out anytime I can, especially around a bay in a harbor area, which is what downtown is going to turn out to be. So, as it just turns out, this is just the right size on this island. Have to do some landscaping. We're going to use a pedestrian street. Okay, we're going to cut our brush size down tremendously here because I don't want this to go super hard. Let me turn it up a little higher than that. I'm going to use the soften terrain tool in the actual water instead of on the land. Then where that shallow just developed, we'll go ahead and use the level terrain tool. And I'm just going to make that height all the way around. I think that'll look pretty for a pedestrian path and a bridge. was hoping it'd let me put a truss bridge right there, but it's not wide enough. Gonna take off snap because I really want this to go right here. Of course, I really want this to go, period. Why does this map hate me so much? Elevation too low for the truss bridge. Okay, well, that actually makes sense. That blocks the water, but this is an island. There's water coming around it. There doesn't need to be a flow right back and forth between there. Okay, I can live with that. Probably just cheesed off a whole bunch of fish, but screw them. Okay. Yeah, so now we have this observation tower. We've got the bank. We've got that. Like, this is a really gorgeous and great start to downtown. Okay, the video has been going on now for roughly an hour 10, which means it's time for me to wrap up. Much as I kind of don't want to, because I kind of don't want to do the other stuff I have to do today. But being an adult is more about, doing the things you don't want to do and less about playing video games all day. And I, I desperately need to be an adult today. All right, so before I pop off, let me go ahead and pick up a little bit more of our southwest low density housing. Scatter it in, push it in, get some of these cul-de-sacs cul-de-sacking. And another reason I'm kind of doing this like this is I sort of had this thought last night and revisited it a little bit this morning. In City Skylines 2, if you build it, they will come. Like, you know, this is very much a Field of Dreams style game. If you build it, they will come. They will populate the area. They will move in if the conditions are like are at the bare minimum substandard. All right, like that person you probably dated at some point in the low point in your life. All right, they met the bare minimum low standard. They hopefully had a pulse and were likely drawing breath. Um, and if they weren't, I'm not judging. Look, we've all been there. Anyway, so if the conditions are roughly okay, people will move into your city. And that's it. That's all you have to worry about. They will move into your city. As long as the conditions are below subpar, they'll be fine. But in the real world, cities don't develop because the situation is below subpar. They develop because there's a need, because there's funding, there's financing, there's people who are able to populate it, there's people who are able to get up and move out of their home city. Um, it's a generational kind of thing. Blocks like this don't usually pop up out of nowhere. A suburb doesn't show up overnight. Now, it might pop up over a 5 or 10 year period, or sometimes less. You'll get little mini housing developments where a dozen or so houses will pop up after a developer spends a couple of years, a few $1 million, and sells them off. But hey, look at that. That's called a cul-de-sac. Like, in the real world, I could throw up a gate around here, this corner, and say, okay, this is a $5 million development. Rich houses, move in. And that would be it. That would be the culmination of 2 years' work. Employ a couple hundred people, couple different contractor companies, several different contractor companies, and have 50 people move in ish, maybe less. That's how the real world typically works. Not always, but typically. And when you have a situation like that, it's important. It's important to your city. It's important to the tax bracket. It's important to whatever. In the real world, rarely do you get a situation where you have a whole city pop up like we have over here in Copper Bluff. And you absolutely won't have a major city develop out of nowhere. You're not going to put down a central bank on the outskirts of your county. You're going to put a central bank in an area where there's already been significant development. So we're doing this backwards in the real world, and people will come. We're going to put down high density residential all throughout over here, and people are going to come. We're going to put in high density office, and people are going to come. They're going to move in. We are the developer. Um, so we are going about this very backwards from the real world. So I wanted to at least flex a little bit and say, hey, you know what? While we're going to have a city for people to move into, I want there to be a small township that people consider moving out of or think that they can work in a large city and have their homes in suburbia, as people like to do. And I think that I'm doing pretty well holding to that. So while we're working on that, I know we've been building mostly Southwest. I'm going to flip in a few of these Japanese style buildings over here because I really like them. We'll designate this whole area for Japanese low density residential. And then some Japanese, we've already seen these, but the Japanese low density business. We'll have that pop up over here a little bit. I just, there's something about the way the flat roofs are and just the storefront design that makes me very happy. Let's take another look at signature buildings because I put a couple over here. We've got that one, that mixed use residential commercial. We've got a commercial structure down here. Yeah. But I feel like there should be at least another residential structure up here. So let's pick one of our cul-de-sacs or an area that should have been a cul-de-sac. Looking at that right there. That should have been a cul-de-sac. So let's start by fixing that. Cul-de-sac menu. Tree in a rock. Smell what he's cooking. If you don't get that joke, watch more professional wrestling. Come over to the... I really want this to be a good area. We'll use the Painter's Mansion. Get 6 while being within 1.5 kilometers. Okay, that wasn't enough to overwrite those buildings. So now we have an extra mansion here that's going to improve the lives of everybody who's popping up around this area. I think that's wonderful. We have a fire going on. We do have a fire station up there, so that's already taken care of. Uh, Anything else? We'd probably get away with a small office building down here too. Something like Coder Park. Uh, Sort of like a mini game studios or like a Microsoft Studios or something that would be in a suburban area. Um, have the area built around it maybe a little bit. And I think that would fit down here. So that's right next to a high school. Kind of used up all my cul-de-sac places. That just wouldn't fit right there. It's another school, I think. That is a crematorium. That's kind of out. I've already built things up over there. Looking for a good spot. Maybe down over here near the highway connection would be pretty good. What bonuses does this give? Office efficiency, well-being, interest in university education. All of those are good things. Kind of want to off of one of the 8 lanes. Shouldn't generate a lot of pollution or anything. That's a pedestrian path. That's right behind a tram station and right across from a school. That's probably not going to be an ideal spot. What do I have right there? What is this? That is empty, and it's right behind a telecom tower. And I think I see where I'm going to put it. I think I'm going to delete that little bit of road. Go ahead, slip in a small cul-de-sac with a tree because health is important. Line it up perfectly. There's Coder Park. It's complaining it doesn't have road access right there because it doesn't have road access right there. So unfortunately, instead of pedestrian path here, we're going to have to upgrade it into either a street or an alley. I'm going to go with alley. We messed up a little bit. Hang on, we messed up all the ways. All right, well then, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Josh. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Men Streaming. There's a bunch you could have been doing this afternoon, morning, evening, whichever, that you didn't have to spend your time with me, and you did. So hey, that's freaking awesome of you. So thank you. Please be sure to give me a like, a follow, subscribe, interact with me. You know, listen, if you don't know how the almighty algorithms work, basically, if I don't convince it that you like what I'm doing, then it's not going to show me to other people. And I want to be seen by other people. It's just, it's not like exhibitionist me speaking. That's, me speaking as content creator. It's just the way things go. And as Weird Al says, in Albuquerque. Thankfully, we're not in Albuquerque, but that is what it is. I'm just trying to tweak this out. So if you don't interact with me, the algorithm thinks I suck. And while that may be true, while there may be a moderate amount of suckage on this channel, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I think other people enjoy what I'm doing, but they need to know I exist. So give me those likes, give me those follows, give me those ever so popular ways to say it. That subscribe and help me out here. All right. So while you're thinking about doing that, don't forget to also follow me on Facebook. Links in the description below. Same thing with follow me over on Amazon if you enjoy fantasy horror, urban fantasy, and cyberpunk stuff because I'm just doing this for the fun of it, but that's what I do for what I do. And with all of that said, I'm going to hop off of here as soon as I put down some row housing right along this area. Finish filling that in. Okay. We're also going to delete those two alley nubbins. We don't need them. All right. Coder Park's installed. We've got a road leading to it. Well, they should be happy enough. All right. Take care, guys. I will see you all again soon.